All right, everyone, HAX Show. We're going to do something similar to the last episode where I'm going to talk about some things and then we're going to bring in a guest just because I think that's something we want to sort of continue doing, and we have some updates and some things I want to talk about. First thing, I'm proud to announce that we have our first HAX Show sponsor, which is really exciting. Our sponsor is Lever Running. Lever is a device that you use alongside a treadmill to reduce your body weight so that you can run more miles. What I decided to do with Lever is talk about how I and how many other people would actually use Lever. So on the first one, I'm going to go with the most obvious reason you should use Lever, and that is returning to run from injury. This is how I personally used Lever. But basically, I was out. I had a plantar injury. I was out for about 8 to 10 weeks, no running. I was in the pool. I was ellipticaling, I was doing all those things, and I had to get back on my feet. So what I did, which, typically when you're coming back from an injury, you'll go for a run for a few minutes, then you'll walk. Go for a run for a few minutes and walk. I was able to speed up that process by not having to walk those intervals because I was reducing my body weight so much with the Lever device. So instead of me, just going for a run walk program for 15 to 20 minutes to start, I was able to pretty rapidly run continuously for almost 30 minutes right out the gate. And although my body weight was reduced, I was able to come back aerobically so much quicker than I would have. And I actually didn't feel a lot of the aches and pains that I think I would have felt if I was just straight on the land, on ground right away. So that is a use case of Lever that I've actually used, and it actually has worked for me. And that is something that I think anyone can relate to coming back from an injury, whether it's a stress fracture or you just want to get your legs back under you. The treadmill's great because it's a really controlled environment. So you can be extra safe with, the body weight reduction from Lever, but also all just being on a treadmill where you can control the speed, the pace and distance. So yeah, that is my use case for Lever. We're really grateful that they're sponsoring the next mini episodes of the HAX Show. But yeah, let's dive into some other updates. Last time we talked, I ran the Millrose Games 2-mile, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that experience because it was a very big race for me. It's probably one of the most, probably one of the biggest races I'll run this year, in a year that's sort of, a down year for some of us athletes. I ran 8:10 for 2 miles, a new personal best. I was 8th place in the race. And my honest reflection is I'm feeling like it was an okay result on paper, but I do feel like I am a lot better of a runner than that. And it's something that I've sort of reflected on over the last few days and want to talk about some things that I think went well and what didn't go well. Going into the race, just so everyone knows, this was sort of set up to be a world record attempt. They had talk of the rabbit going out even in sub 4 minute pace. And, with guys like Grant Fisher and Cole Hawker and Josh Kerr, I didn't think it would be as sort of slow as it was when we started. But some insider scoop right before the race, Grant Fisher actually dropped because of sickness. And I think that really changed the entire dynamic of the race. For anyone who's raced Grant, and for anybody who's watched, many of his races, Grant is the strongest guy on the circuit. He's the guy that may not be the fastest, may not have the best leg speed, may not have the best 1500. Obviously Josh and Cole have run 327. They're very fast, but Grant is someone that when the going gets tough can keep clicking off 60-second laps in those, at 2/3 into a race when everyone wants to start slowing down and saving up for a kick. So my plan going into the race was to go to the back and essentially hold on, knowing I've never gone out this fast in my life. I've never, been in a race that's going to be this aggressive from the start. And that turned out to be a very stupid plan as soon as Grant dropped, and as soon as the pace was slow. And that's what happened. I was in dead last, and I didn't feel particularly great early on. Like I felt a little clunky and flat, which, does happen in races. But Like I said, my plan was really to hang towards the back, knowing that if we were, ripping 59s and 60s, there would be guys that would come back to me. And that really just didn't end up happening. I tried to, at certain points, make a move up to the front and, get closer to where the actual action is. And my dad always says this to me, and I think it's quite true. Like, the closer you are to the front of the race, the more adrenaline you have, the more excitement you have. And especially as a competitor, like, if you can taste the idea of a win or taste the idea of, having an inspiring race while you're actually out there, I do think it gets easier, and the plan takes care of itself a little bit. I'm sure there are people that understand what I'm saying when I'm trying to articulate that, but sometimes toward the back of the race, you can feel a little bit more sorry for yourself, and you can sort of think like, I may not be feeling as good, and especially when it's slow. So yeah, we got out there, and I think the leader's first mile was 4:07, which is not particularly fast. It's not, walking slow, but for what we had planned, it is quite slow. And even though it was 4:07, we really didn't start to get going until about 800, 600 to go. And the race sort of just got away from me. I did pass 3 guys in the last 400, and I actually did close decently well. And like I said, I ran 8:10, which is a great time. I mean, that was from the last time I checked, like, it was a 19-second PR for me. Obviously, like, a very, very big leap. And like, I'm amazed I'm at a point in my running career where I'm disappointed in something like that. I really think that I need to work on, tactics and being confident in races where on paper I maybe not, be a contender or someone that can win the race, but I need to have the confidence to compete and not be fearful of the guys I'm racing. And I think I struggled a little bit with that Millrose weekend. I talked with my parents afterwards, and, we were, like I said, like, optimistically disappointed. I want to, I guess, frame it that way. Like, once again, it's like, if you were to told me 2 years ago, I'd be disappointed with the 8:10 2-mile, I would have been like, what are you talking about? But the bar has been, has moved so far. And I think that, really that is just something I need to be okay with, that like, I really am ready to run with these guys, and I need to put myself in a position to give myself a shot. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have any training adjustments. I think we prepared really well. Like I said, a lot of it's tactics and mental approach, or things I need to work on behind the scenes, but really that's sort of the update. I have a big 5K in a little less than 10 days that I'm preparing for now, and that is my focus. And I really want to be more aggressive, be upfront, not be afraid to lead if I feel good, and know that I'm fit, trust the fitness. And we've been preparing all year to run fast. So go for it, and be okay to take risks. That's something that I do really want to work on. And yeah, so that's my little Millrose update. I know that's like a lot of insights into just one race, but I sort of wanted to, allow everyone watching this to just hear what it's like to be a pro on the circuit and talk through sort of how I'm feeling after performance like that. The final sort of little update I want to talk about before we bring on a special guest for the latter part of the show is just Hammer and Axe updates. We announced new coaches. We announced 3 new coaches, Wes Porter, Ben Fleming, and Ryan Adams. Very excited to bring all those guys into the fold. Ben and Ryan I've been training with, and Wes was just a great add. Our first sort of East Coast coach, and a great professional runner. He just represented the U.S. Ryan runs for Mexico and is a Mexican national champion. And Ben is just coming off of a pro triathlon career and is actually transitioning back to being a full-time runner. Ben was an All-American steeplechaser for Virginia Tech. And yeah, he's trying to get his legs back under him and really pursue running at the highest level again. He did all 3 sports, and he felt very called to come back to running full time. So that's a little bit why I'm excited about them. But I just want to end before we bring on our guest for the day, talking a little bit. There's been a lot of talk about a lot of these coaching platforms and them transitioning to more AI assistant coaching and sort of moving away from what I think is the most valuable part of coaching, and that's the human element of it. And Hammer and Axe is actually doubling down, and because of our partnership with Training Peaks, we are like I said, really having an emphasis on bringing on new coaches, but providing all of, the people that work with us just great coaching. Like I said, I'm not anti-AI, but I do think there's a lot of slop out there in terms of using it to chase your goals. And something that has been so important for me and something that we've really emphasized at Hammer and Axe is the relationship aspect of run coaching. I've never worked with someone that I didn't get invested in their life and in who they are as a person, while also trying to help them reach their running goals. I have a guy that I've actually just been helping the last, he just ran he ran his first half marathon, ran way faster than we thought he was going to run. And the conversations we're having are, hey, like, this is life-changing. Thank you, for helping me. Thank you for guiding me. He is involved in my life. He knows, so much about my family. I know so much about, who, like, the person he's becoming. He just had a job change. And I don't think that's something that an AI written training plan can really do for you. And that's why I'm really emphasizing, if you are looking for any form of run training or run coaching, looking into hiring a coach, an actual human coach, and someone who can walk with you, not just in your run journey, but also like your life journey. And so, yeah, there's like I said, my elevator pitch. We just added so many coaches, and a lot of our coaches have limited slots to how many athletes they can bring on. So if you want to work with them, please do not hesitate to reach out. And we just signed with Training Peaks, an amazing partner. All of, the data and the things behind the scenes is now taken care of. And our coaches can do what they want to do best. And that's just help the athletes run personal bests, find meaning through their running and through their life. I will say one other final caveat, and I want to add this. One of the reasons we did sign with Training Peaks is to give the autonomy back to the coaches through their, who they hire, who they bring on, how much they charge. And, sometimes I have people approach me like, oh, I can't afford it. Oh, like, it's too expensive. And I say, okay. Something I would implore or, encourage those people in that boat is to reach out to a coach, have a conversation with a coach, and talk to them about your situation. We have so many coaches on staff who would love to work with you. And although I think $200 to $250 a month is very fair and very reasonable for, someone writing your run training, talking to you every week, texting with you every day, I do think you should, if money or pricing is an issue, you should reach out to the coach and talk about, hey, would you do this for a little bit less? I think A, a lot of our coaches would, but B, I do think like you'll see the value of the product. And once again, I don't want the decision to be about money. I want it to be because you really want to have someone to help you guide your running journey. And so yeah, like I said, that's the end of this little rant. Those are our quick updates. New coaches, go check them out. They're great. And we're actually going to be talking to one of them here in the second part of the show. So thank you, everyone. And stay tuned for interview with Ryan coming up. Welcome back to the second part of the HAX Show. Like I promised, I brought in Ryan Adams. And it's actually funny. We were just texting. This whole thing was planned out for Tuesday, and I thought I was saying Thursday. And so I literally texted him. I was like, I am so sorry, man. Can you please come up the mountain and record this like right now? And thankfully it all worked out. So Ryan is up here. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, it helps that I'm right at the bottom of the mountain. So it's like, no big deal.
Yeah, this would not have worked of any of the Longmont guys because it would have been a long trek. But yeah, like Ryan was saying, he lives in Boulder, which is what we want to talk about. So you just moved out here. How is it going? What are your initial thoughts? Talk to us about like what that move was like, why you decided to come out here. And, you're a few months in now. How are you feeling about things?
Yeah. So I've been here since, I think roughly mid-September. And honestly, just from the get-go, I kind of understood, okay, this is why the majority of distance athletes in the United States or even around the world just come to Boulder to train. And it's beautiful out, and you get that lowish altitude, medium altitude. So it's not ridiculously high. You have the mountains. I mean, it's just picturesque. And honestly, this winter has been incredibly mild. So, but yeah, no, it's been going well. I mean, really what brought me out here was the prospect of having teammates and coaches again, which I hadn't had for a little while. And that was kind of facilitated by Austin Delquest. We raced each other, I think it was in like June in Nashville, and he was like, dude, just come and check it out. And I'm like, all right, yeah, sure. So it wasn't instantaneous. It was a few months of kind of prayer and meditation, but decided to just pack a bag, pack up my car as much as I could, and then drive out here from Indianapolis, which I was only there for a few months. But it's been going great. I think it's been, there's been a period of readjustment, not just to altitude, but also to high level training, and also high level training with the group and having eyes on me. It's just like after, I guess the way that I put it, and it's funny, I've had like I've had extended times where I've trained alone between teams. So I've always put it like, it's kind of like an outdoor cat learning how to be an indoor cat again, where it's just like, okay, like there's the pros of being on your own, where it's like you're on your own time schedule and you kind of determine everything, but you don't have anyone to do it with. And when you get back into that system, it's like, it's great. I've got teammates now, I've got training partners. Okay, but now I have to learn how to run next to someone again. So, but I say it's been going well. I mean, I don't know. You tell me, have I been an adequate training partner?
Yeah, it has been going well. Ryan and I actually met a long time ago at the NEO cross country camp a million years ago. Shout out to Ted Roop. And yeah, my dad's from Ohio and Ryan's also from Ohio, so we sort of have that tie. But yeah, do you like? We've talked like obviously off camera on a lot of runs. Like, do you feel like moving to Boulder is sort of like your last shot as like a pro runner, or are you looking at it that way? I really want to dive into your previous, pro experiences, but do you feel the emotional weight of that decision, or is that not how you're looking at it?
I'd say honestly, that's definitely how I'm looking at it. I mean, like coming out here, when I said I took a few months of prayer and meditation, it truly was a few months. It was June, July, August, and then in August I gave Austin a call back. And throughout that time, I was deciding, do I want to continue doing this anymore? Do I want to just move on, hang up my spikes? It's been a good career. I even put out several job applications, whether in Indianapolis, in Ohio, and Cleveland. And basically, I was letting the determining factor being, if I get one of these jobs, then I'm probably just gonna be done. I'll probably continue to run, maybe do some road races, compete, just still have fun. But I might just be done focusing on this altogether. And a couple of the jobs, which seemed like a sure thing, really, just ended up falling through. Like, I had some good interviews and none of them panned out. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take that as a sign from God that I am supposed to still be in the sport in some capacity. And I'm going to take that leap to go out to Boulder. But, I am 29 years old. I'm going to be 30 this year. And I don't really have that same kind of time to play with that I did even coming out of college, where, you've got kind of your whole running career ahead of you. It's like, I still think you can do well through your early to mid 30s, but you just got to find a place where you can be consistent. And I just haven't had consistency in really like 5 or 6 years. So I kind of looked at it as like, hey, like I want to come out here with the goal of like, I want to be here for at least next few years. And initially when I came out, I was like, I'm going to check it out for a month, like see how I like it. But I mean, you don't really drive across the country just to stay somewhere for a month. I kind of knew in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm going to be there for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Do you feel like you have peace with that, or is it like this is a little bit more of a stressor knowing, all right, I sort of said I'm not doing the job thing, I'm chasing the dream again, but I am 29, 30. Like, how do you look at that? Is that like, for some people they'd be like, no, I'm doing exactly what I feel like, God is calling me to do, or what I think is the right decision. So there's peace with that. But other people are like, maybe would say this is actually going to be maybe even a slow and steady burden on everything in my life. How are you feeling about it? Is there stress? Is there no stress?
I mean, I'd say that there's definitely stress when it comes to really the big thing right now is just, financially. It's something that I think is becoming more a lot of runners have become more open about talking about that in a post-collegiate setting. It's more and more difficult to support yourself if you're not with a team that has an endemic sponsor or just a ton of little sponsors. I've been on a team in Atlanta that had both an endemic shoe sponsor, but also a bunch of corporate sponsors. And then in Baltimore, that was sponsored by one shoe company, but we were very well supported. So kind of coming out here there was like the risk and the stress of, okay, I'm going somewhere for the first time without a contract waiting for me. Because we joke about it. We're not really like a team, we're a training collective. That's right. Yeah. We're an autonomous collective. But I don't know. I think there's also just some kind of like peace in that too, where I think sometimes the dollar amount driving you to go somewhere can drive you to go somewhere that's not necessarily the best place for you. And I mean, I don't want to speak poorly about places that I've been, because there's been people that have done incredibly well and thrived in those places. But even from high school to college, my primary motivator was, where am I going to get the best scholarship? And okay, like kind of like where am I going to get the best scholarship that's also a great program that I can do well in? And I kind of carried that same attitude as I was towards the end of college looking at professional. I was like, okay, where's the best contract? That's also the best group. But I think
classic Midwesterner.
Yeah, I mean, we're very fiscally responsible, pragmatic. I mean, I don't buy things. Like, so I'm just purely like, hey, like you live, you die. Ideally, you have some kids. I don't know. But yeah, I think there was a little, I don't know. It was a stress coming out here, but also a strange bit of peace where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not following the money. I'm actually coming out here and really putting my own skin in the game, versus being like, okay, well, this place is offering me a contract, so I may as well go there. And like, again, like there's just pros and cons to everything. But I think like at this point also being 29, like, I've been in this sport for a long time. So I also I just have a lot of experience that kind of brings that sense, that peace of mind where I'm like, okay, you know what? I think that this is the most sensible decision to make. And I mean, I think it's panning out so far. I mean, like, we're just going to start racing. So I guess we'll see ultimately, but yeah.
Love that. Yeah. You mentioned a little bit your life on 2 previous pro teams. I just want to like learn about that. Like, what was your decision-making process when you graduated from Furman? You had a very successful collegiate career. What were you looking for when you first signed as a pro? Culture, support, expectations, and then what was it like at Atlanta Track Club? And then when you went out to Baltimore, can you just talk about all of that, sort of like your evolution on your pro teams? And
Yeah, so leaving college, so I had a pretty successful college career. It was mixed. I mean, like, you know, I wasn't a podium at NCAA. But I was just always such a consistent runner. I was a consistent qualifier, and I think one of my bargaining chips was my biggest opportunity to, you know, potentially even go for a title was actually in 2020 when COVID happened. It was my first time qualifying for an indoor championship, and I want to say the first time a male Furman athlete had qualified since like the 60s. When we were out there, it was canceled because of COVID. So,
which means you would have won.
Exactly. I would have won both the mile and the 3K, clearly.
Yes. Me too.
So actually, I was the dark horse favorite for stride report for the 3K.
Let's go.
You know, which basically does mean a title. But so going into my 6th year, I mean, like, I didn't end up making NCAA finals that year. Whether it was because, probably a mix of going out on Elliott when he went out in 54 seconds for the first 400 of the 15, which
tough.
Took me a little off guard. But also, I mean, like, I'd been racing week in, week out. I mean, I think I broke 340 maybe like 7 times that season, which I mean, really was kind of unprecedented in the NCAA. So I really didn't want to say 6 or 7 times, but so coming off of like a hot season, I was talking to a few coaches. I was talking to district track club. I was talking to Brooks Beasts, Atlanta. And with Atlanta, what I really liked is that they had a lot of support. They had a lot of community involvement, because the elite team wasn't the only aspect of the club. I mean, it was a relatively new part of the club that had been around since roughly the 70s. And honestly, it was not too far away from Greenville, which is where Furman is. I mean, it was about 2.5 hour drive, and I was dating someone there at the time still. So that was really helpful to be like, oh, great. Like, distance doesn't have to be long distance. I don't have to be coast to coast. So it was a lot of factors. And ultimately, like, you know, kind of what I had said before, the contract was just really good. I remember showing my coaches and they were like, this is probably the best contract we've seen from anyone that's come through this program and gone pro. And I was like, all right, like, may as well go. Like, I had spoken to the coaches, Andrew and Amy Begley, and the program director, Eric Heinz, on a few occasions. And I was like, yeah, I feel like this is a good place to go. And that was my determining factor there. With Baltimore, I'd come off of winning 2 national titles in 2023 in Mexico. And this was after a long stretch of being injured. I'd left Atlanta. I was working again with Robert Gary, my college coach. And it was a good feeling to have like a little vindication of like, man, like I was injured for so long. I still have this, like I can still race. And even then though, I don't know, it's the landscape of professional running is just so hard to navigate when it comes to contracts because they're just so few and far between. They're really precious, honestly. And also with the advent of NIL, now you're competing with high schoolers and collegians for dollars. And sometimes those are honestly the smarter investments because they're a little more long-term. It's like, hey, like, you know, if I give an NIL deal to someone that's 18, 19, 20, like they could still have another 5 to 10 years in the sport. Once you're in your late 20s, it's like, you could be done like tomorrow. So, but going to Baltimore was kind of like a logical step because Corey Leslie was the coach there. And Corey and I mean, we go far back. Actually, that same NEO cross country camp, he was my camp counselor back in 2011. So long time ago. And then he was also on Furman Elite when I was a freshman at Furman. And he was one of the big reasons actually why I went there. So kind of going from training with Robert remotely, it just seemed like, okay, you know what? Corey is both an Ohio connection, a Furman connection. We have a lot of shared history in our respective athletic careers. So this is a logical place to go. The contract wasn't quite as sweet as the Atlanta one was, but I'm like, hey, this is an opportunity to run with, and also with some incredible athletes too. So yeah, I mean, like different scenarios for both places, but yeah.
What did the training look like, and what was the differences from Atlanta to B-Town to now? Like what? What's all just talk through all the different like how are you training then, how you're training now, everything in between.
Yeah. So Atlanta was. So I guess I should say at Furman, like Furman was just so cut and dry. Like we were 7-day cycle, Tuesday threshold, and this was before double thresholds really were popular, or I don't know, maybe they existed. I don't know. I'm old. So, it's like Tuesday threshold, Friday, speed endurance session, VO2 session, Saturday, long run. Like that was just the consistent schedule of training. Like, I was never more than like during cross country, maybe like 75 miles a week. During track, usually like 65 to 70, not super high mileage. And then going to Atlanta from there, it was definitely a lot more VO2 focused. And like we would do some strength based stuff, but even that was, it was pretty short and pretty hard. Initially I think it worked really well because I was coming off of having such a good strength base from Furman that all the VO2 stuff, I'm like, this is great. Like, I feel like I'm just sharpening this huge base that I have. And
Too bad it was November.
Too bad it was November. I had an impressive November. I ran a 3:58 time trial, and a week later ran a 5-mile PB. I ran 23:19, just under a 4:40 average, which I was very pleased with. Cleveland Turkey Trot to take the W.
Nice.
But it was unfortunate because I actually got in a car accident about a week before that mile time trial, and probably shouldn't have run it. But my car was totaled, and honestly, like all that, I think the mixture of the car accident and continuing to place my body under stress led to really not being able to compete for the next 3 seasons.
Yeah.
But to take it back to training, then kind of like getting back with Robert remotely, like he started me on double thresholds, which with no eyes on me and kind of having a lot to prove, big chip on my shoulder, they were just more double workouts.
Can you explain the difference? Because I do think it is important for people to know that there's a big difference between doing 2 workouts and doing 2 threshold sessions.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you can do it really scientifically. I mean, with, you can measure your blood lactate levels. So basically it's, the way that Robert put it to me, and again, he wasn't there to watch me. He's like, I want 2 70% efforts, not 2 Ryan Adams efforts, which, when I didn't have any eyes on me, I'm like, okay, this is definitely 70%. Like not, it wasn't. But
weird. My heart rate's 200.
Yeah. No, I mean, genuinely, I looked back at data. I think my heart rate maxed like typically at like either 185 or 195 for one or both sessions.
That's tough.
Yeah. Like, it's just like, that's not easy. But usually you're looking for, I want to say it's like 2 to 4 millimoles of lactate in the morning or 3 to 5 in the evening. Or if you don't really have a lactate kit available, I mean, like it kind of depends on your max heart rate, but, I'm like, essentially it's, I don't know, I guess zone 3 running. So for me, that would be like roughly maybe like maxing at 175 for my heart rate. But really what you're looking for is you really are looking for those 2 70% efforts where it's like you're getting volume on the day, and the goal is not to, the goal is to increase your aerobic threshold. The goal isn't to get through these hard lactate workouts, grit through your teeth, like, really toughen up. It's just like, they should be a pretty comfortably hard session. But, I think like a good metric is usually like, could you have done 1 more rep at the end fairly comfortably, like without just digging into the well? And I'd say, I mean, like it's a tough thing when you're younger or when you're just starting that to really know that kind of feeling. Whereas like once you're kind of a few years into it, you start feeling the cues a little more of like, maybe I'm going too hard. And I don't know, sometimes you ignore the cues. Like yesterday morning, I was like, I don't know, I'm feeling kind of stupid. So
Ryan tested high in the morning.
Yeah.
He took the bait.
I couldn't help it. I was like, oh, it's right there. But I've been a pretty good boy for most of the training. So
yeah, definitely. What, so then obviously you didn't have the, career you wanted at Atlanta, and you were back with Robert for a little bit, and then you moved to Baltimore. And what was that? Because I know Corey actually, I don't know if everyone knows this, Corey coached me for like 3 months, in between my previous coach and my mom. He just sort of, helped me, and Corey's an amazing resource and just always wants the best for, the people he is coaching, and was great. So, but Corey also, I feel like, did a pretty good job, like changing your training to, once again, more endurance based. Do you feel like that was like a big difference once you moved to Baltimore?
Yeah. I mean, like, so I'd say the most interesting thing about that was doing the 9-day cycle, over, I mean, here we do 14, with Robert in college, or even in Atlanta, it was a 7-day cycle, which is probably the most typical. But the 9-day cycle, I mean, like, it was a little strange to get used to, because it's not like, oh, Saturday long run. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's a Tuesday long run. Okay. Yep. So with that also, it was kind of a little tricky to measure your mileage, because it's like, well, we don't really have, it's not really miles per week, it's miles per 9 days. So I was definitely upping my mileage, and part of it was just, running with the team. And, but we were doing double threshold sessions. We were doing a lot. So basically it was 1 double threshold session, one X session and one long run in every 9 days. So one thing I did like about that was you had basically, it's like you had a hard session. It's like, okay, I don't have to do this again for 9 days. Like you just always knew like, okay, hard long run, next one's 9 days. We're all good. And I'd say like, I think it was really good training. I was just, this is like one thing like where if you peel back the curtain behind any runner at this level, and like everyone's got stuff that they're dealing with. Like, and for me, it was, I had really just killed myself physically, emotionally, mentally, just really pushing myself so hard in Mexico prior to that I think I was just so burnt.
Yeah.
By the time I got there that like, I look back at, I even just think back, there was runs where it was easy runs with like Ahmed and Adam, and they're maybe going like 7:15s and I'm getting dropped. Just cause I'm so tired.
Yeah.
So I think just, it was really good training, and it was pretty similar to what we do here. It was just when you've got that mental stress already, like it takes a physical toll on your body. So I mean, it's something where I'm like, even sometimes the right training it's like the right training at the wrong time.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Timing's so important for a lot of pro athletes, even just when you mentioned contracts, like you got to strike while the iron's hot, but also, yeah, same thing. Like if you're in a great situation, but you're not in a great situation up here, it may not work out. So what about now? What are you doing now? What do you feel like is working more now? And then what would you tell to like younger pros that are entering the world and like deciding what situation should I look for? What type of training? Obviously like not one size fits all in terms of training. Like there are a lot of different programs, but yeah, what are you doing now? What do you like about what you're doing now? And yeah, what would you tell young pros?
Yeah. So what I'm doing now, I've been hitting higher mileage than I've been hitting and probably hitting my career really. I mean, I once I hit my like peak mileage in, I don't know if it was like October-ish or something like that. Like I was holding 80 plus miles per week for a good 3 months, which for me, that's pretty unprecedented. I think, doing double thresholds with teammates, having eyes on me, like, I think all that stuff is fantastic, honestly. And it's giving me the strength base that I needed to build back up after, I left Baltimore in June of 24, and I was still training in between that time too. And actually I was training under Leo Manzano for a little while. And his training was very VO2 based, which I think was great. And it was great that I was given stuff to do for that for about 8 months of this. I want to say it was like a 16-month stretch that I was training solo. I just didn't really have much of a strength base to build off of. So getting that back has been great. Remind me of the next questions.
Yeah, like what would you tell to pros? Yep.
Yeah. To young professionals, brace yourself, I guess. It's tough coming out of college. Especially if you're in a high level program, whether it's D1, D2, D3. I'm most familiar with D1, but you are not going to get the same kind of support as you got in college. You have so much more that you have to figure out on your own, and you might have people to guide you, people that you're joining on the team to guide you, and connections that you can make through people, but you have to be intentional about making those connections yourself. They're not just going to be there for you. Like, I never in college had to even think about signing up for a meet. I never had to think about my meet schedule. Like I remember being like, what, like, I'm not being given a schedule here. Like, yeah.
People do not understand that. I'm like, it's so true. Look, there are some programs, like you all know who you are, the OACs, like the Nike programs. Yeah, like they've got a silver spoon. Okay. Like, look, I'm friends with all those guys. They get whatever the hell they want. Most pro programs are not like that. Like you have to figure all of your crap out on your own. You have to figure out with your agent and your coach a race schedule if you can get into the race, like there's politics. Like being a Division I, and I can't speak on D2 or D3, or Division I really, because I didn't go to college, but I have a lot of friends who did. You have everything you need and more. It is a pro program. And I just don't think people fully grasp, like, you know, it's a downgrade once you're, you know, in that, like I said, if you're not an NCAA champ, it's sort of a downgrade from college to that. So I'm actually glad that you sort of talk about that, because I do think it is a little bit of a reality shock for some people.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, even just little practical things of like at Furman, we had the track, the grass track, weight room, golf course, dorms, dining hall. It's just like, everything is within a 1 mile radius.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to drive anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the biggest things, even just going to Atlanta, that I was like, oh man, I've got to drive like 20 to 30 minutes out to Smyrna to do a workout, drive back, and then drive 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like downtown or midtown rather, to the club to do a lift or to do work. Or, you know, I've got to drive 40 minutes north of Atlanta to see a Cairo. Like, it's just like, it's not centralized, you know, and I mean, truly, I think you put it the best way. D1 in running is the closest thing that you have to professional, even before NIL. Like, this is just the reality of it. Like, D1 is the closest thing you've had to professional in running ever.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, it is. Yeah, college is not a real, it's not a real place. It's a 4 years of just, you live in
or
a
6 years.
Or if you're my brother Jacob, 15 years. Okay, so you run for Mexico. Tell us about how that opportunity came about.
Yeah, so it was not, I mean, it was somewhat planned, but not planned at the same time. Like, it was something that I'd always thought about, kind of even throughout high school, where I was like, man, like, you know, I could represent Mexico. I always felt a strong connection with that, with my heritage from that side of the family. My mom's from Mexico. She came here from Mexico City in like the 80s. I grew up going down consistently, whether for summers, just for holidays. And it's funny, actually, my dad's parents are from Canada. So I technically have a Canadian, I don't know, I guess some kind of relationship to it. But like, because they lived in New York, like I never felt much of like I never felt Canadian, I guess. Yeah. But it was, I don't know, like in college, I was like, you know, like maybe I should like just get my citizenship, switch affiliations. And part of it was, I was like, but like, I don't know, that's a lot of work to do. Like, and it was like, yeah, like, I mean, there's a lot more resources available in USATF. So maybe I should really just focus in on this. And I don't know, it was always a common joke too of like, oh, like Ryan Adams, are you going to represent Mexico? I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know.
So this is actually funny. This is such a stupid question. What's your name now?
Oh, Ryan Adams Fernandez. So
yeah, I wasn't saying that. I'm sorry. I would have butchered that.
Well, it's so like in Latin American countries, your father's surname is your primary last name, and your mother's maiden name is then your secondary last name. So like in results in Mexico, it'll show like Adams F. Ryan, like, because like you know, it's the second last name is just abbreviated. Yeah. But it does at least bring a little more legitimacy. You know, I was just given a very, you know, Anglo-Saxon name.
Yeah, for sure.
But so in 2022, late 2022, I was having a rough time in Atlanta, and I don't know, I just kind of maybe let's just call it guidance from the Holy Spirit. I mean, like, because I can't really explain anything else. I was like, I'm going to get my Mexican citizenship. Like, I've put this off for years. I may as well. And there was a consulate that was like 15 minutes away from the Atlanta Track Club offices. So I was like, all right, easy enough. And then I got my passport a few months later. And I wasn't really planning on this. Like, I'd kind of thought about it, but when I left it, or after I'd quit Atlanta Track Club, I terminated my contract maybe like 8 months early. I was like, okay, what now? Like, here I am in Atlanta, no contract, no other job. I have a condo, and okay, like, what am I going to do? So I was like, all right, sell the condo, just get rid of everything that's in it. Like I gave so much stuff away and like tried to sell as much as I could. Drove whatever I could up to Indianapolis, and then I was like, all right, like I'm gonna just buy one-way ticket to Mexico. So ended up flying down, and I lived with my grandparents in Mexico City, like technically just outside Mexico City in Estado de Mexico. And like they were thrilled to have me, even though I was incredibly depressed and just I don't know, I was a sad boy at the time, and I decided when I started working for Robert again, like because again, even at this time, this was another crossroads where I was like, do I want to keep on doing this or not? Like I've been injured for a year and a half, and it's just been kind of painful. Like running feels not just painful physically, but also like I'm kind of have an aversion to it. Like just to give some stories and little sob stories, but like I remember going out on a run in Atlanta, like it was late at night, maybe like 11 p.m. So normal run time for me.
Great time to run.
It's in Atlanta. But I went out like 2.5 miles and like literally just collapsed on my hands, my knees, like just completely broken. Like I'm like, this hurts. I am so broken emotionally and physically. Like I don't know why I'm doing this. Like I jogged back. It took so long to get 2.5 miles back. And Robert would check on me like somewhat regularly, like semi-regularly, which, speaks a lot to his character. Because he was no longer my coach at this time. I think he was just doing a welfare check. Like, hey, are you still alive?
Gosh.
And it was sometime in early March of that year where he was like, is there anything I can do to help you out? And I was like, you know what? Like, I don't think I'm done with this. I just can't do it alone. I'm not done with the sport. I think I'm going to go down to Mexico, switch my affiliation, and really go all in on being a Mexican athlete. And he's like, I'll help you out. He's like, I just want you to be sure. Like, it's kind of like, when you switch affiliations, you can just like switch back and forth. Like, it's like, you probably could switch back to the US if you wanted to. It would just take a long time. And I'm like, no, I'm all in on this. Like, I kind of feel like this is just what I need to do. So, went down, raced in Mexico all summer, which was pretty cool. I mean, like I'd never raced in Mexico before. So it was cool to both see how different racing is down there, how the meets are coordinated, how, it was also cool to visit different states. I mean, like there's 32 states in Mexico. Now I've been to, I want to say 11 or 12. Nice. So it was also a great way to just kind of really reconnect with my heritage and I guess feel Mexican. So,
That's really cool. Yeah, no, I do think it's, like it is I feel like that would be a refreshing thing to do. Cause like you were saying, like you've been in the NCAA system, same meets every year, same sort of flow of things, same things as pros. Like we do the same crap every year. It's just, whether you do well or not, like right. that's what decides whether if you have a good year. But yeah, going to a different country and like racing on their circuit is like, that's why athletes go to Europe for the summer. It's just like different. That's really cool. Do you, is that sort of your plan now is like, all right, like run at Mexican championships, try to represent them at the highest level. That's like sort of the big goal the next few years.
Yeah. I'd say like, as long as I'm running. Yeah. And I mean, there's definitely there's a desire to give back. Like, when I'm down there and I see athletes, like whether it's just training or racing, like there's so much passion down there and there's a lot of talent. There's just not the same resources in the US as there is in the US. And honestly, that goes for a lot of federations around the world. Like, I think we sometimes take for granted, even though USATF has a smaller budget compared to like the NBA or the NFL or something like that, it's still probably the best funded athletics, like track and field federation in the world. And especially compared to Mexico, where it's just like, man, like, you're really doing it for love of the game down there. And, I think if you get some of their top runners or even some of the runners that just, I can tell like the way that they race, like it's just, kind of going out there with reckless abandon. If you put one of them in an NCAA D1 school in a Division I program, like they're going to thrive. And I think I'm hoping that myself, along with like athletes like Lalo Herrera, has been really tearing it up for the past couple of years. And, I think it just kind of shows like, hey, Mexican athletes are, they can excel on the exact same level as the United States, as U.S. athletes, and they'll put in the work too. I think long-term, I would really love to, maybe be some kind of facilitator for Mexican athletes, having more representation in the NCAA, and beyond. Just because it's just like, hey, like, again, the talent is there. It's just like sometimes the resources or the same history and legacy of coaches. I mean, you just get coaches here that their pedigree is so incredible and unquestionable that you put any talented and hardworking athlete under them and they're going to thrive. You just don't have that to the same degree in Mexico.
Yeah. Nice. Sounds like you should coach some athletes down there, which is perfect for our final segment of this. We just launched you as a coach in Hammer and Axe, which I'm really excited about because you're our first fluent Spanish-speaking coach, which I do feel like that is exciting and something that we haven't been able to offer to athletes. But I'm also just excited because I do think you have some really awesome core beliefs about just training philosophy, athlete autonomy, like long-term development. So can you just talk about who you want to coach, the people that you would like to work with, and sort of like what you think it will look like for them as the coach-athlete relationship? Yeah.
So I really do want to fill that niche of if there is an athlete out there that wants to be coached, pues si quieres entrenamiento pero no hablas inglés y prefieres un entrenador, un profe que habla español, pues yo puedo proveerte con eso. Like if you're, it's just like if you're a Spanish speaking athlete that cannot speak English and that's been a barrier to you, that's what I'm here for. Like I want to provide that quality of training for whether it's Spanish speaking athletes in the United States, in Mexico, wherever. That's what I want to be here for. That's not to say if you are an English speaking athlete and you want to work with me, I'm gonna be like, lo siento. It's just like, no, it's like, I'd love to do that too.
I know what that means.
Yeah. That I toss a softball out there.
Yeah.
But with that, I would also really love to focus on athletes that are either high school, college, maybe looking to get a scholarship to college, maybe walk onto their college team. So I'd say most of my experience comes on the track, and I definitely have experience with cross country too. Cross country, I feel it can kind of translate to roads to some degree. So it's like I have experience with training with having run race distances from like 5 to 10K as well. And I'm more than happy to do that as well. It's just, I think that like my niche is really those middle distance track athletes, especially those that are Spanish speaking primarily.
Awesome. No, I love that. Yeah. I want to end here just on one question, sort of wrap up our closing thoughts. What does success look like for you now in let's say the last stage of your running career?
Yeah. Ideally, so I came out here with a long-term vision. And it's basically just continue to increase in capabilities in racing to the point where I can represent Mexico in the 2028 Olympics. And I will be 32. So I'd say it's probably like realistically the last Olympics that I could feasibly qualify for and be competitive in. It's like I never know what it looks like after that, with road racing, marathons, whatever. But as it stands right now, it's like that's my personal goals on the track, is to represent Mexico in as many international competitions as I can. And to do that, I think it's just staying healthy and training hard for the next 2.5 years. Other than that, I think it's important, even with running, having that work-life balance is important to have. You have your family, you've got your kids, you've got your businesses. I've been in Boulder now for about 5 or 6 months. So as I'm feeling more and more planted and I'm building a community, those are things that I'd like to look towards too, is really building a life and putting down roots. And it's whether I'm going to be here for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, I don't know. But it's kind of I don't want to put my life on hold to pursue this. I think having a healthy personal life also contributes to having a great running life.
Love that. That's a great answer. Yeah, I think that balance is great, but also, like you said, doesn't have to hurt your running like a lot of people may think it is. Thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on up the mountain on the last second notice. And yeah, it was great talking with you. And thank you everyone for listening to the HAX Show. I want to do I need to do this. It gets good. Please, if you're listening on Spotify, give us a 5 stars, or don't rate us at all, but only give us a 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, all that. Yeah, we want to keep growing this, and yeah, that's how we do it. And if you're interested in the lever device, as I talked about earlier in the show, we'll have all the details in the YouTube bio, and yeah, you should check it out. So thank you, everyone. HAX Show. We out.